So again, welcome. I hope you all have been having an informative day. We know it's certainly been long and definitely hotter than anybody had wanted it to be. But we're going to keep this up here actually throughout this so you can see, because most of the colleagues, most of the departments, if not all of them listed here, either have representation here that you'll be hearing from in the next little while, or you've already spoken with. Too. So we want to make sure that maybe you can just connect some departments and some faces with some phone numbers. Sometimes the names don't necessarily connect if it's directors or if it's different representations. But once again, my name's Dan. I'm the Associate Director for First Year Experience. I am going to do double duty this afternoon, both moderating with my colleagues from different divisions and departments from across the university, and then I'm also going to represent my home department, the Office for Student Involvement. So I can talk a little bit about all the resources that we offer as well. But as I mentioned this morning, we collaborate closely with all these different departments across the university, and I'm so honored to be joined by my colleagues here. So let's just give a little bit of an overview logistically for everyone. We're gonna go down the row and have, and if I can ask each of the panelists just to take turns and introduce yourselves, what department you're from, any quick information about resources or programs that you wanna make sure that you're sharing with the parents. And then we'll open it up to questions. We can do questions one of two ways. Folks, if you wanna get up and stretch, you can go to one of the microphones around here, or we can have one of our student volunteers. If we have any OLs or orientation folks in here who can help pass the mic along. Or if you still have those orange cards from Fordham College at Lincoln Center, those of you who are here in the 2:30 session, feel free to use those and you can pass them up and I can take them, or some students can take them as well too. So I know Dr. Campbell has been speaking a lot, so I'm actually gonna go down to my right and ask that we just make our way down this. I'll give you a little bit of a break, Dr. Campbell.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Rubiera, and I work with Fordham IT. All the resources that you could possibly have questions on can be found at fordham.edu/IT. So definitely take a look at that because there's a lot of really great information that'll just benefit each of those students for years to come. Okay.
Hello. Hi, my name is Mona Kabani. I'm with Ram Dining. If you didn't catch me at the table during lunch today, I have location map pamphlets here that also have our website, fordham.campusdish.com, that has all, if not most, of our information regarding meal plans and anything dining that's on campus. I'm also a good resource. I work out of the Lowenstein building on the first floor. There's a huge Aramark sticker on my office door, so if anyone ever has questions throughout the school year, you're free to stop by my office and come in and ask.
Hi, I'm Annette Rapice. I'm from Disability Services, and we work with students to provide academic accommodations for students with documented disabilities.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sarika Prasad. I'm with the Counseling and Psychological Services Department, and we offer individual, group, and other types of consultation services for any sort of psychological needs. And we also offer referrals to long-term providers in the community.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nishelle Robinson. I'm the Senior Assistant Director for Student Financial Services. If you have any questions regarding billing or financial aid, federal work study, or study abroad, I'll be able to answer those questions.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so nice to see people here at campus, and it truly is, and I think my colleagues on the panel will attest to that. We've been waiting for you, and it's so nice to see you. My name is Bob Deneen. I'm the Director of Public Safety here at Fordham's Lincoln Center campus. Public safety is responsible for all safety, security, fire safety, and emergency management issues at all Fordham campuses. I've been with Fordham just shy of 15 years now, after spending 22 years with the New York City Police Department, where I retired as a captain in 2006. Of course, me and my team, we bring all our experiences that we have to certainly serve and protect our students. And you should know that public safety takes that responsibility very, very seriously. And we maintain that focus throughout the year, 24/7, 365 days a year. After the panel concludes, if you have any additional questions you would like to pose to me, I will gladly stick around and answer those questions. Once again, welcome.
Yes, hi everyone, welcome. It's so wonderful to see you here today. It's been over a year since we've had the sizable audience here in front of us. I'm actually not Holly Young, but I am Jormal Zaldivar, who represents the Career Services Office here today. I'll be subbing for Holly. And essentially what we do is we bridge the college experience, the student's college experience to professional life. And we do that through several initiatives, which includes individual career counseling, programming such as workshops, panels, also career fairs, as well as a mentoring program. And we also have an online system where students can have access to several resources, sign up for on-campus interviews, and all of our events. And we're looking forward to meeting students throughout the academic year.
Hi everyone, my name is Lee Weber. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the Associate Director to the Office of Multicultural Affairs located here at the Lincoln Center campus. My primary role is to make sure that your child feels welcome, valued, included, and challenged through our diversity, inclusion, and social justice programming. So if you have any questions about what we do on campus, I would be happy to answer those questions. And I do have to echo my last two colleagues that said that they're happy to be back here. Seeing everybody in person, really, it's so nice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maureen Keown. I'm Director of University Health Services here at Fordham. We provide primary care and urgent care medical services to the students. Our offices are located in the 140 West building. I think that's it.
Again, Jennifer Campbell, and I can answer any questions from a residential life perspective in addition to the Dean of Students Office. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And then a little bit about the Office for Student Involvement. We oversee the over 50 clubs and organizations here on campus, and I can talk a little bit if folks are interested at some point about starting up clubs. Student government comes out of our office. You met my colleague Melissa Gazal a little bit earlier. She also works both with alcohol and other drug education and advises our campus activities board and does some large-scale programming with us. Commuter Student Services also comes out of our office, and I work directly with our Commuting Students Association, which is a student government organization for commuters. Each of your new students, first-year students who are commuters, will be assigned a commuter first-year mentor. And so we try and put all of the incoming first-year commuting students into sort of small groups, much like if you think about it in the residential life terms, but for commuting. So for peer mentorship and programming as well to help commuting students adjust to their time on campus. And as my colleague Kelly Sosa talked about with residentially earlier today, we do try and collaborate and make sure that the student experience is seamless in that way and try and make connections with that community too. So I think, one department that is not represented, was not able to send a representative today is our intercampus transportation, who hosts the Ram Van, which is the intercampus shuttle. The shuttles go back and forth between Lincoln Center and Rose Hill every day. So if your students are taking classes at Rose Hill, they can get passes for that. If there's activities at Rose Hill Lincoln Center students are welcome to certainly attend Rose Hill activities. They can get that up on the Ram Van too. They'll do airport shuttles, things along that nature too. So with that, I wanted to open it up to any questions that you all had, either ones that maybe didn't get answered earlier today, or ones that have just come up for for myself or any of my colleagues. Yeah. Really depends. That's a great question. It really depends on traffic. Is really the easy answer. Sometimes it can take 25 minutes, half an hour. I've been in a Ram Van that takes over an hour. It really depends on the time of day. Too. The Ram Van's really good about alternating their different routes to make sure that they're maximizing it. But it's New York City, and the Cross Bronx Expressway gets pretty backed up sometimes. Yeah, there's also, yeah, exactly, and that's a great question. So there's also two other ways to access the Rose Hill campus. There's the D train that you can access actually from Columbus Circle, right here a couple of blocks away, that drops you off on Fordham Road a few blocks away. Ramban also runs shuttles, especially later into the evening, to pick students up at the subway stations. The Metro North also drops off right outside of campus as well. And students and any of us can pick up Metro North at Grand Central, and that's about maybe a 20-minute ride on Metro North. I would say the ride from Columbus Circle to Fordham Road is, I would say, what, about 40 minutes or so?
35.
35, there we go, 35.
And I think you can track Ramban through an app or through their website.
And there's, yes, I've not been on the Ramban in a very long time, but apparently there is an app and a Ramban. So, and they've also got Twitter feeds, so you can check to see kind of like, oh, the Lincoln Center to Rose Hill is running 5 minutes ahead, or Rose Hill to Lincoln Center that left at 2:30 is running, 10 minutes behind. Really, if your students are commuting up to Rose Hill for classes, please just make sure that they're really checking to see that it's, to give themselves plenty of time to commute and be communicative with their professors, knowing that sometimes those class schedules and the Ramban things don't always match up as well. Yeah.
I have two or three very different questions. The first one is addressed to health services. I believe that we have our own health insurance. We conduct it from our tuition. But what type of health services are you offering our students when they're residing on campus and/or community?
Okay. So health insurance, I'm just going to touch on that base first. Every student is required to have health insurance. They are automatically enrolled in the student health insurance. If you have your own health insurance, you have to log in. I think it's after a date at the end of July. You would log in and you would show proof of your own insurance, and that would drop off. Okay, so that's the part for the health insurance. University Health Services does not accept, we don't bill insurance. So when students come in to see us, they can see us, it's nurse practitioner run, there's also a doctor 1 day a week at each campus. They can come in and see us in the health services for whatever they need, a physical exam, a sore throat, if they, are just not feeling well, any of the different types of illnesses that they may have. There's no charge for seeing the nurse practitioner, but there may be a charge for medications that may be given, or if they have to do a strep test, or now with COVID, a COVID test, a rapid test in the office, urine tests, any types of tests that we may have to do in the office. We have a small lab there. There will be a small charge that is charged to the Bursar bill, but you can print a receipt, and there'll be a diagnosis code and everything, and submit it to your insurance. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. So the question is, what type of documents will students need? That's going to be contingent upon whether or not they're going to look for employment. So if they're seeking employment, they'll need their Social Security card. They'll need, a state-issued ID. So all of that's contingent upon travel, what they're doing. Now that we are back into normalizing things in terms of even air travel, that may change in terms of what documentation they need to provide if you live out of state. So a lot of that is going to be contingent upon whether or not the student plans to travel out of state, whether or not they plan to be employed. Definitely, if they're going to look or seek employment, they're going to need that Social Security card, or the passport can act in the capacity for the verification purposes of employment.
Other questions? Yeah.
Okay, so the question is about vaccinations and if a student tests positive. So at this juncture, we're finalizing what we will offer in terms of quarantine versus isolation. Had it down pat last year. We were in full operation last year, and we had a methodology for contact tracing students who were identified as those who tested positive, but also going out to their various friends and other individuals who may have been around the students, professors and such, to figure out what was the extent of the contact that they had with those individuals. From there, those individuals who did not necessarily test positive, but were in close proximity to those individuals were considered quarantined individuals. So we had spaces that we placed students in both isolation and quarantine. What we are currently trying to figure out now is how we're going to negotiate those spaces for the fall. So we're coming up with the plan of action for what we're going to do with students for the fall semester. This is the time when we start doing it. This is the exact time last year when we were doing these same activities. So we're not out of the realm of what we normally do in terms of the planning process. We're just finalizing it in terms of whether or not some of those spaces will be off campus in addition to on-campus spaces. Again, that is being worked out with the academicians also in terms of how that would play out. Last year, because we were having both hybrid scenarios in that in-person and remote, it was easily negotiated in terms of what that would entail. We're still working with the academic side of the house to figure out if a person goes into quarantine, what's that going to look like this year? So I don't have an answer for you yet. So those are conversations, again, part of the lead up to opening activities, conversations that I was saying relative to safety, negotiating the city, things of that nature. We'll still continue to have those types of conversations with students overall. Even in spite of the health emergency that we've experienced over the last year, we're very cognizant that students are coming into our environment not necessarily knowing what they need to consider in terms of the city. So those will still be some of the follow-up conversations that we'll have based on CDC guidelines and what the city is offering in terms of information. So we will definitely have those conversations with their students during the orientation processes.
Also safety, thank you for that answer.
Mm-hmm.
And also when they go out themselves, are you going to speak about how they can keep themselves, I guess, like the police officer?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Piggybacking on what Dr. Campbell just mentioned, I always start off by saying, that New York City is no different than any other big city in America. And as you go about your business, you have to be smart, use good judgment, and practice good safety habits. And for that reason, public safety, along with the Office of Residential Life and Student Affairs, conduct safety orientation programs at the start of the academic year. I mean, the freshmen move in on, I believe, August 29th, Sunday. On Monday, I'm giving them a PowerPoint presentation on how to be safe in the city, alerting them to our policies and our procedures that we've designed to keep them safe on campus, and certainly what they need to be doing when they're off campus, and to be navigating the city safely. We really drilled down from A to Z. Dan mentioned the Ram van, which is just a great way to travel back and forth between the two campuses, safe, inexpensive, leaves on the half hour. It has extended hours on the weekends. It starts very early in the morning and it goes to very late at night. We tell them, I can't get into everything, of course, right now, but, come home with the people that you went out with for the evening. It seems kind of simple, but it's important that they're looking out for each other and taking care of each other. Know your environment, how to navigate the subway and stay safe in the subway, to understand your environment. I was just telling Maureen before we came in the room, I mentioned the PowerPoint. I have a supervisor, Joe Savella, who's just phenomenal in preparing these PowerPoint presentations, where it's kind of a tough, dry subject, if you will, a serious subject, you know, for us students who I believe should be around 18 years old, right, our freshmen, and we try to make it enjoyable for them. You know, we'll throw in John Travolta dancing, you know, and you see their faces light up, but, you know, that topic is like going out for the evening, you know, and get a good reaction, you know, some tall, old, gray-haired guy talking to them about being safe. You know, we certainly want to capture their attention, and it goes over very, very well as we deliver a very important and serious message to them. Just quickly, I have 10 supervisors here who are all former ranking, very experienced ranking law enforcement professionals, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, deputy inspectors in the NYPD. We're not cops anymore, you know, we're not. We're here around the clock. My supervisors are a very talented group. They're a valuable resource. There's nothing they haven't seen in their careers, and we are here for our students to serve them. Many of us have had sons and daughters go through Fordham, and there really is a special level of care on our part. You know, I mean, there's one story I tell at the end of my presentation, and I call it the cab story. You will not see it in any literature anywhere, but basically I tell the students, if you're ever out late at night somewhere in Manhattan, and that little voice inside of you, your gut instinct says, I gotta get out of here, something's wrong, I gotta get out of here. But they don't have money to take a cab, say. I tell them, get in the cab, tell the cab driver, take me to 60th Street, Columbus Avenue, or in front of McKeon Hall, McMahon Hall. And, you know, when they pull up, tell the cab driver, wait right here. I'm gonna run inside and get the duty supervisor, the public safety duty supervisor, you know, to pay you. And, you know, I tell the students at the end, listen, we're not in the business of giving money away. We really would like to get the money back. But it just really speaks to, you know, our dedication really in making sure that the kids, our students, your sons and daughters, stay safe. So we certainly, you know, speak to them and get the message to them, you know, on how they should stay safe.
And one of the things we also asked them to do in the presentation, because we start with the residential students on Sunday night, as a matter of fact, one of the security supervisors will be there with us, and then the next day, Bob will have them collectively again with commuters and residents, is we ask them to pull their phones out and put in that duty supervisor's number so that it's in their cell phone, so that they'll have access to that information at any point in time. So we make certain that they have a resource available to them should they be out in the city, get departed away from their friends or whatever the case may be, so that they can get back to us safely.
You're very welcome.
And I actually want to also sort of jump in a couple slightly different angles too. In addition to everything Dr. Campbell and Mr. Deneen talked about of what we accomplished at orientation, but to speaking to your point about are the students hearing it from students, you know, too, we do encourage that. You know, the students are meeting, you know, the new students are meeting with their orientation leaders during orientation, a little bit right now, but, you know, as I mentioned a little bit this morning, they'll be hearing from them over the summer, but then there's about 3 or 4 times where they'll be meeting on those 3 days of orientation, and those are really important opportunities for the students to hear from each other about those tricks, about what does it mean to, you know, as I said, kind of what does it mean to be a student and live in New York City. And that's one of the main things that they can ask about, you know, and say like, hey, what have you experienced? You know, what has your experience been like? What are the little tricks that you have for doing this? And they'll probably say, you know, a lot of the things that you all have heard, you know, but that's just another level because we really do feel that the peer-to-peer conversations is also really important. I can tell them things until I'm blue in the face, you know, but if their friend or their orientation leader who has lived this is telling them that, we also really recognize that that's a really impactful conversation. From a very tangible aspect, one of the things that I started working with the Commuting Students Association on at the end of the spring is a buddy system. And so students who are commuting to campus from the tri-state area, CSA is really working on on working on a buddy system where students can meet up with other commuting students to come to campus. And it doesn't need to just mean for like a 10 a.m. Monday class. You know, it could mean, you know, hey, I really want to attend this program on Friday night, but I'm a little bit anxious about leaving campus at 9 o'clock and going back on XYZ public transportation, whether it's Metro North, New Jersey Transit, the bus, you know, or the subway. And so what they're really gonna be working on, especially in the fall, is to being able to connect those, right? I recognize that you know, this is both commuting students and residential parents, but know if your residential students now are moving off campus at any point, you know, that those will be some resources that we're hoping to support them through. Other questions? Yeah. So the question is about fire drills.
Yes, we have a comprehensive fire safety program here. Myself, my 10 duty supervisors that I mentioned, and the guards that staff the main entrance desks are all fire life safety directors, which means we are tested and certified by the New York City Fire Department to operate our fire control systems in an emergency, in a fire emergency or a smoke emergency, and quite frankly, in a non-fire emergency, heaven forbid. I don't even like to bring the topic up, but an active shooter, say. So we all have that certification and are trained to do fire drills, which we do. We try to do them at the start of the academic year, and we will we'll do 2 in each of the dorms, each of the residence halls during the semester. We work with Residential Life, and we do evacuation drills as necessary. We do stairwell familiarization drills where this would be more for a non-fire emergency, where maybe something was happening outside where you would not want to evacuate the building. Even if it was a car accident right in front of the main entrance of a building, we wouldn't evacuate. You know, in that situation, we would shelter in place or do an in-building relocation. So certainly we do fire drills and in each of our buildings and during the semester, and we try to do them at the beginning of the year. Our residence halls are fully sprinkled. You know, so that's a wonderful thing. McKeon Hall, where most of our freshmen live, is this building, actually, I think, as you all know by now, the McKeon Hall sits on top of the law school. This is a state-of-the-art, as far as, you know, state-of-the-art building, certainly with fire protection. So that's a wonderful thing. We can speak to the building occupants using the public address system. And that's a great thing, too, to give them directions during that particular emergencies. And you should know at the start of the academic year, our fire safety officer meets with our resident students and discusses fire life safety as it relates to dormitory life, you know. So we do have a comprehensive program. I hope that answers your question.
And last year, we upgraded McMahon Hall to a new system altogether. The whole building was upgraded to a new fire safety paneling system there. And so we have access to all the apartments on campus to be able to make an announcement in individual apartments to let students know, indoor rooms, what's going on.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay. Yes.
What social media platform should we follow in terms of just basic information about the school or safety issues or anything else?
Anytime there's a situation at the university's website, fordham.edu, is what you want to utilize, because we will post all announcements and updates on our fordham.edu site. So that is your main source of information. I know the Parents Council, which they will be sending some information to you, also has some social media sites that they utilize, but if it's an emergency or updates in general, it's the fordham.edu that you want to utilize.
And just again, piggybacking on Dr. Campbell, we have an emergency notification system that we utilize that allows us to send thousands of voicemails, emails, and text messages simultaneously to the university community, to our students, alerting them to serious emergencies. So that's a great feature that we have. I mentioned the email blasts. We discussed the social media, and campus electronic bulletin boards. But we do have redundant channels of communications to get these emergency messages out.
And the students can also add you to that emergency system. I'll never forget my mom, she's departed now, but she's like, what's going on there? And they were doing a test at the university to send out the emergency notification. I was like, everything's fine. I forgot to tell you that they were gonna send the test notification out. So you have the capability of getting information also. Your student just needs to put you down as an emergency contact, and that information will go to you also.
I'm gonna jump around. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So registration is really simple with disability services. It all starts with the student first completing our application, which can be found on our website. There, they would just give us a little bit of information about them, but they could also upload their 504 plan, their IEP, their neuropsychological report. The last question on the application asks for the student to call us, and we'll set up an intake meeting, and we'll discuss accommodations either virtually or in person. And like what accommodations would be appropriate for Fordham, and then how to implement those accommodations here at the college level, because it is quite different than high school. I do have a handout for steps to registering, if I can give you one later too.
Yes.
I had a question about health services. You mentioned there's some limited health services provided in the campus, but what it is, emergency services required or some larger medical need. What is the recommendation that you have here for the area hospitals or for people who are not familiar with this area, the students?
So if a student comes into health services or even after hours, there is a hospital right down the road, Mount Sinai State
Mount Sinai West.
West. And that's where we would bring students. On campus, if it's after hours, we would probably call either 911, or if the student was okay, could walk around and would be met there, somebody from Residential Life.
So basically, if there's a situation where your student has to be taken to the hospital, we will get the information within Residential Life, call you, contact you, let you know what's going on in terms of that triage situation with your student. So there's never a time that we're notified that we don't notify you relative to something that's going on. And there are the one-offs where students decide they're going to do things on their own, and we find out kind of after the fact. But as soon as we know, we're calling you as the parent, guardian, other responsible person in the student's life to say, this is what's going on with your student, this is what we know, these are the contact numbers that you need to reach out to in terms of further updates.
And in health services, when we have a student that comes in and is not feeling well and that we feel that has to be transported to the hospital, we usually have the student call the parent before they leave, and we'll speak to them as well.
And just a follow-up to that, if there's an ongoing medical need that is there, that they are seeing some doctor or some specialist in the area, and that needs to be transferred over, where would that be provided?
So we have a student health portal, and any documentation from a doctor, a specialist that a student may be seeing can be uploaded into there under their medical records, and that will be put into their own chart in our EMR system. And we'll be able to look at it beforehand, and we could also call the student and discuss that, and any follow-up care that they may need. We could talk to the specialist if need be.
And I think of the
Does that answer?
one-offs that sometimes happen, I apologize, Maureen, in terms of a student injuring themselves. We've had students that have sprained ankles, broken body parts, things of that nature. We'll work with public safety in terms of even the evacuation plan for those students, because the student may need extra time to get out. So in those instances, when we're doing fire drills or on the off chance that there's an emergency situation, we work with public safety to get that information so that we know we have to evacuate that student and work with the fire safety personnel to do so.
So the health insurance, the student health insurance, there's a fee for the fall semester and then the fee for the spring, summer semester. So it will continue into the summer. I hope. Aetna Student Health Insurance. You're welcome. You could, if you have any questions, you could always, we have an insurance coordinator. Her name's Maritza Garcia. She's available Monday through Friday, and you could call the health center and speak with her if you have any other specific questions regarding the health insurance. Okay.
I'm going to ask the panelists, maybe Jormel, if you don't mind, talking maybe a little bit specifically about internships and sort of that process about when the university maybe recommends getting internships and maybe some exciting examples, because the students have got a wide range of internships at their feet right here.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We are very lucky at Fordham where employers love us, and we receive hundreds of internship opportunities through our handshake system throughout the academic year. For the first year, the freshman year, we recommend that students just become acclimated to the environment because there's a lot of wonderful opportunities within academic life that will help students hone and develop key competencies in what's called career readiness, which is defined by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And these competencies include things like leadership, teamwork, critical problem-solving skills, technology skills, all of those different things that students can hone within the classroom, as well as being involved in student clubs, and organizations and volunteering and things of that nature, because employers will be curious about how things are going, how have they demonstrated these abilities throughout their time at Fordham. And they'll notice as well that throughout the various internship listings, they tend to be very generic. But among the common denominators, what one may see through these listings are those qualities: teamwork, team building, leadership, critical problem solving, all of that. And that can certainly be articulated through what the student has experienced in the academic setting. But what I do encourage students to do right now is to info gather, which they can do immediately. I think one of the silver linings of this year was the availability of employers to host info sessions via Zoom with us to speak with students with regards to what happens in the workplace and the workplace culture from a variety of different places, such as the Big Four accounting firms, JP Morgan, Warner Media. This is just an example of different places. And through our website of fordham.edu/career, you're able to see who our top employers are listed. And we have those stats updated for 2020, so you can see them there. But just going back on the availability of Zoom info sessions, we have some archived actually through our YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube and find our page, which is Fordham Futures, you'll be able to see representatives, typically Fordham alumni, talking about what it's like to work for their particular organization. And also, they were once in the student shoes. So at some time they had to go through the recruiting process. And they're there to assure students that, you can make it. You can be just like me. I was once a student like yourself, but here I am. So go to our YouTube page to view some of those info sessions. We also have some of our workshops archived there. So workshops that talk about resume writing, interview prep, how to network, things of that nature. Also, students may become acquainted with upperclassmen. So, throughout their time here, they may want to ask, where did you have the opportunity to intern? What is it like to work there? How is it different from, one place or another? How is JP Morgan different from Goldman Sachs, for example? Or how is HBO different from NBC Universal? These are questions that can definitely be answered by upperclassmen who have held internships there. So that's just an example of what freshmen can do right now and the types of internship opportunities that are waiting for them.
Good, thank you. I'm going to keep moving down. Questions? Sorry, I just didn't want to. Yeah.
Not for a specific panelist, kind of on the subject of social media, positive use of social media versus negative. I wonder if there's any proactive collaborative efforts between offices to just talk about the negative, the toxic sort of impacts of social media. I don't know, maybe some combination of administrative, council, and positive usage from security, career services, but maybe they're talking about this in their session.
I can, yeah. Yes. We do quite a few mental health workshops, and no matter what the topic is, we're always including social media. Because I think a very interesting way to think of social media is if you can think back to when you were in school, it's very much like entering the lunchroom, but now the lunchroom has thousands of people. So a lot of the same issues and things that you faced when you were in high school or college and entering the lunchroom, meaning, I like that guy, but I don't know if he likes me. Oh, that's the popular group. Oh, they're skinny and I'm not skinny. Whatever kinds of insecurities you had going into the lunchroom is exactly how it feels to be a young person going on social media. The same insecurities. However, now it's a little more intense because it's more people. So a lot of the same ways that you can help them navigate the normal social kind of issues that they might have comparing themselves to other people in the real so-called real world with one-on-one face-to-face contact actually work on social media. So just the same way that they might have some friends who are legitimately not friends, they're pretty mean to them, and you might tell them, avoid that person. Sometimes the solution is the same on social media. Block the person, unfollow them. Other times it's something like, well, you and this person have a conflict or disagreement. Maybe you need to just talk it out. That could be online or it could be done in person. So first of all, I just want to say it's not like a completely new set of issues that are happening on social media. It's the normal kind of social things that people go through at that age. The second thing about the positive and negative sides about social media usage is that on the one hand, social media has opened up such a broad world of finding support, especially across different communities for young people. And I'm noticing most of them are using it that way. They are learning about how to support themselves through mental health struggles and asking questions that they feel like they can't ask the adults in their lives. There are plenty of therapists on social media with huge followings from young people. So it is a really great place for young people to make those connections where maybe you grew up in a small town and you were the only person of a certain identity there. You can make those connections online and in a very safe way. On the other hand, of course, there are ways that the way they use social media exacerbates existing kind of issues or insecurities they might have. So if you're the type of person that tends to go into the world comparing yourselves to others, you're likely using social media the same way. You're following accounts probably where that's kind of how you're viewing people in a comparative lens. So I would say it's not necessarily that social media itself might be the problem, but your approach to how you use it. So you can encourage them to use social media to connect and to learn, but if you're noticing they're using it in a way to compare themselves to others, or they don't really know how to kind of shut out people that might be bad for them, those are just skills that they can learn to use it in the most productive way.
When I give the presentation at the start of the academic year, the public safety talk, I have a slide dedicated to, you know, just this point that you bring up, and basically, I list the different social media platforms, and I just advise the students to be careful what they're posting on social media, as they may just very well have to answer for it. And I explain to them that you just don't know who may be offended by something that you're posting, and they should be aware and cognizant of that. So I do hit on it. And does it happen throughout the academic year? Sure. It could be a group project, where people aren't getting along, and and all of a sudden 2 group members are texting back and forth, about another group member, and that person who who is offended will complain to us, and we certainly will. Depending upon the severity of it, of course, it's something that we could look at, of course. And then I work closely with Dr. Campbell, as you know, who's the Dean of Student Affairs, if it rises to that level. And Dr. Campbell will have a conversation, with that particular person. So certainly, all I can say is, I've seen it with students here at Fordham. There's a maturation process that goes on, from high school to college. And it's a wonderful thing to see over 4 years how a student will mature. And it really, truly is. And maybe some of you have seen it with your own kids. I've seen it with my own children. And, if we come across it, we will address it. And but I do touch on it in the presentation. I don't know if it really registers, of course, because everybody, including us parents, were so, 5-10 years ago when for me, telling the kids, hey, we're having dinner, put that phone away, stop texting. Now I see parents, with the phone at the dinner table. So it's here to stay, and like I said, I try to get the message across to be very careful and not offend anyone, because here at Fordham, we're looking to respect each other. There's a zero tolerance towards discrimination of any sort, and I do speak to those things during the orientation.
And so in essence, if it rises to the situation where it's a student conduct issue, then it's handled in that manner, because we have a policy against harassment and bullying and things of that nature. Sometimes it comes as a result of another situation in that other entities may be involved. So we have policies in place for students to have no contact situations, so that we can circumvent some of the other outside influences of other friends and associates trying to be engaged in the situation. We will bar all contact for folks, so that we don't have that situation where folks are being bullied and or harassed if a situation comes up.
And then from a different angle, from an Office of Student Involvement angle, in working with students and student leaders, particularly, those are sometimes conversations that we'll have, with club leaders who have taken on more of a role model role, I guess, for lack of a better word, and trying to connect that, who are you representing with your social media beyond just yourself, right? I have those conversations, I'll just give, say, with the students who might be employed by me, let's say the commuting first year mentors, right? And reminding them that you're Fordham staff now, right? And so you're not just representing yourself, but you're also representing the university, in that. And so those are ongoing conversations. And certainly there's a different level of accountability, to be had when students are employed by us versus when students are volunteering, but still, we've got our finger on the pulse with that as well, too, that we can engage in those conversations, with students and student leaders, and knowing that, nobody's perfect, and sometimes, people are going to make mistakes and are going to tweet out something or post something on Instagram, but just helping them understand when they're liking a post, and maybe they have access to one of our departmental Instagram accounts, and they're liking a post from that, maybe even accidentally, what message does that send, to them? And maybe we support it, but, we also need to be sensitive to that. I want to be sensitive of time and get to a couple last questions, if I may. Lee, I was wondering, as we think through, I know your office is doing a lot of really great work this summer, specifically with the cultural club. So maybe if you could just briefly touch on sort of the initiatives and Instagram takeovers.
Sure. So this kind of ties into the social media question that was asked before. Over the summer, our 6 cultural heritage programming committees are taking over our Instagram accounts, and they're actually taking over their own Instagram handles to take us through content that they'll be doing over the academic year, other content just to promote the social identity groups that they're a part of, and also a way to help meet new students as well. So just to take you back a little bit, throughout the academic year, we celebrate all the cultural heritage months. And so we kick off the year in September with Latinx Heritage Month. That lasts from September 15th through October 15th. Then starting on October 1st, we have LGBTQ History Month. Then in November, we have Native and Indigenous Heritage Month. And then in December, we celebrate all of the interfaith seasons. And then in January, we kick things off with Martin Luther King Week. And then in February, we have Black History Month. March, we have Women's History Month. And then in April, we have Asian American Pacific Islander Month, which technically is celebrated in May, but because we have a large identity group population at Fordham, we celebrate that month in April because in May, the students leave for the summer and we graduate. So all of those cultural identity groups have their own Instagram handles and their own committees. And so throughout the academic year, they're putting on programming for students, and it's a great leadership opportunity that falls within our office as well. So if folks want to get involved with our office, that's the #1 way to do so, and you meet new friends. You make connections with juniors, sophomores, I didn't go in order, but juniors, sophomores, seniors, and freshmen. So again, it's a really great leadership opportunity for your students to be a part of. I strongly, and this is a shameless plug, but if you follow on Instagram specifically at Fordham OMA, you will see all of the cultural clubs, cultural committees that I just mentioned, and you can find their Instagram handles. So I would encourage your students to do so, and then they'll have more of an idea of what I just mentioned, and more of an idea of what goes on at Fordham as well.
Good,
Thank you, Dan.
That's great. I know sometimes financial aid is also really important, and I want to make sure that we just get an opportunity, Nishal, for maybe if you can just share a little bit. I know financial aid has been packaged already and has been out into stuff. So I guess if you could just briefly touch on, I know the PEAL process is already ongoing, but maybe especially in thinking through for next year to kind of what that might look like.
Okay. So for our students who are currently freshmen, so after the academic year is over, you want to start thinking about getting everything in order for your sophomore year. So of course, we always encourage our families to file the FAFSA on time because, our office, we want to make sure that we are returning the same aid to our students that they received in their freshman year, unless, of course, there are some situations that have happened that would cause that student to lose their aid. You don't have to file the CSS profile again after freshman year unless you are appealing for additional financial aid. At this time right now, we will begin to start sending those financial aid bills out if you haven't already started receiving them. We've got a couple of questions regarding aid on the account that has not memoed to be able to see what the correct balance is. We found that there are some students who have not accepted their aid on the account. So if there is any aid on the account that has not been accepted, we do ask that you go ahead and do so. If there's any reason that you were not able to do so for any type of glitch in the system or anything, we welcome that you reach out to us. One of the best ways to contact our office is via email, financialaid@fordham.edu. But of course, you can reach us via phone, 718-817-3800. But with the phone, sometimes because of right now, we are extremely busy. So waiting in the queue to actually speak to a financial aid counselor could take a while. So, but definitely via email because every one of our counselors are working to get those emails answered. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is important that you fill out the FAFSA each year.
Okay, thanks. Mona, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. For students and families who want to make sure that their specific dietary needs are met, either with allergies or whatnot, who's the best person to contact, and how do you reach out to that person?
Yes, so we have a registered dietitian on campus. Her name is Melanie Simeone. I actually have her business card here if anyone would like to pick it up afterward. She has an email that you can contact her at, and she's very interactive with students and will meet one-on-one to address any concerns. In given situations, she'll take students through a tour of the campus and address what is available to them given their dietary restriction. So we're very accommodating to any dietary meal plan that's needed.
Wonderful, thanks. And then Luis, just to wrap up with the whole panel, can you maybe just briefly touch on, so if I'm a student, I'm on campus, I need a little bit of tech support, who do I go to?
So we have a few different centers. In SL19A right downstairs, we have our walk-in center. It's currently not walk-in, but students can schedule an appointment with us where we would take a look at their computers or any other issues that they may be having. In the tech world, we also have another office in the Rose Hill campus. Sometimes we would even take in machines, work on them, whether software, hardware, and then provide loaner laptops to students so that their work is not interrupted while their machine is being worked on. And if it's something outside of the scope of what we can do, we do have recommendations for several other resources. We also check warranties with manufacturers and things of that nature to make sure that they're getting the most tech help that they possibly can. But yeah, we do have those two walk-in centers alongside with some resources in Lincoln Center here for printing and ID services and all those good things.
Great, thank you. And then I just want to wrap up very quickly to talk a little bit, very briefly, about orientation, since I have you, because I know that that's probably all on your radars. First, I want to echo what, for those of you in the FCLC session, what Dean Williams said is please encourage your students to be checking their emails too, because we're going to be sending out a whole lot of emails about that. New student orientation, mandatory 3-day orientation is August 29th, 30th, and 31st. It starts out, if you're a resident student, with move-in throughout the morning. Please be on the lookout for communications from Residential Life. I believe Kelly probably talked a little bit about that in terms of like what your move-in time. Orientation will run move-in. It's actually a really fun and smooth process. We have a lot of fun doing move-in. If you're a commuter student, we'll be having commuter check-in and welcome later on in the late morning, followed by welcome remarks with Father McShane and the deans. Dean Arricchio, Dean Rapiccioli, Dean Campbell will all be giving remarks. You'll probably hear from me again. We'll have different receptions. My colleagues here will be on campus again to welcome you back to the university too. We're working with campus ministry for some Jesuit mission-focused programming as well on that day. And then in the late afternoon, we'll be respectfully asking parents to leave, and that's when we transition into our student-specific small groups. So look for that schedule to be sent out later on in the summer. But just as you're anticipating what your travel plans are and your plans for those days, just know around the late afternoon is really when we transition, probably around 4 or 5 o'clock. But again, as we work out the schedule later this summer, please be on the lookout. Programming for Monday and Tuesday is student specific. This is where we're able to offer a lot of our parent content is at these summer orientation programs too, but we won't be having any parent content on Monday and Tuesday. All the things for parents is really on Sunday. Monday is more student life content too, so talking about diversity and inclusion, talking about making smart choices, safety and security. This is when Mr. Deneen talks about it. Mission integration and planning. It's when your students are in with their small groups that I keep talking about, which is I think one of my favorite pieces about it. There is an element of real talk that my department collaborates with Lee, which is really about an hour and a half or so workshop that's peer-led, talking about what does it mean to go to school in a diverse city, like New York, recognizing that, some folks are coming from all over, and what does it really mean to be in that community as well. Tuesday is academic orientation. We break students back into their colleges. So Gabelli School of Business, and Fordham College at Lincoln Center. FCLC will also then split out a little bit later in the afternoon between first years and transfer students as well. We'll have social programming each night. One of the things we're hoping to bring back is excursions out into the city at a whole lot of different places, whether it's Top of the Rock or whether it's walking across the Brooklyn Bridge or getting some ice cream here in the neighborhood. We're looking to do that because we also want to make sure that your students have the opportunity to meet other people, right? And not, their roommates, it's great. The people in their CFM group's great, but they also, we really hope that they have that opportunity to meet a diverse group of people too. So just wanted to put that all on your radars. I know those are popular questions. I'm happy to stick around. I want to thank the panelists here for all the information and the time. I know we're a little bit over, and thank you. I think Rita's gonna close.
I have one more save the date, Family Weekend, October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. You'll get some information from us, but save the date.
Yeah, and all that information is going to come out from the university on those emails, like Dean Williams was talking about. So I'm going to turn this over to Rita, but it's been a pleasure seeing you all. I look forward to welcoming you all back on August 29th.
All right, thank you all so much. We're almost at the end of the day. We just have one little thing to do. I'm not sure how to change the screen to the PowerPoint, if you don't mind coming on up here and helping me. I'm very bad with technology. I apologize. Oh, there it is. Awesome. Okay. So there should be a QR code on the screen. Yes, I did that right. Woohoo! Okay. All right, so before we dismiss for the day, we would just really appreciate your feedback about today's program, what the people you heard from, the information you learned. If you could just scan the QR code on the screen and fill out that evaluation, that would mean a lot to us. It would really help us out. And once you are done with that evaluation, we'll let you on out so you can reunite with your student. And we will have optional McKeon tours if you didn't have a chance to see this morning, or you want to see the McKeon dorm room for a second time today. Totally up to you. While you fill that out, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us today. It was really exciting to have you here on campus in New York, to see all of your faces in real time. So thank you so much for joining us. And we hope you had an amazing time today. Make sure to fill out that evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you.